The first time Lieutenant Daniel Mercer saw the lights, he thought exhaustion had finally broken something inside his mind, because the sky over the Rhine was supposed to be empty except for flak bursts and the faint, distant glow of burning cities. Yet there they were, three spheres of amber fire hanging in perfect formation off the starboard wing of his Black Widow night fighter, moving not like aircraft, but like thoughts given shape, silent and deliberate, keeping pace without any visible propulsion, as though the war itself had grown curious and come to observe him. The year was 1944, winter clawing at Europe with iron teeth, and Daniel, a former physics graduate from Ohio who had once dreamed of teaching undergraduates about Maxwell's equations, now spent his nights stalking enemy bombers in a machine bristling with radar and guns, trusting instruments more than intuition. But no instrument in the cockpit acknowledged the lights, not the radar scope glowing green before his navigator Sergeant Elias Ward, not the compass, not the altimeter trembling in the cold. And when Daniel muttered, "Do you see that?" he expected silence or ridicule, yet Elias's voice came through the intercom tight and stripped of humor. "I see them," which was worse, because shared hallucinations were harder to dismiss. The spheres drifted closer, their surfaces swirling like molten metal stirred by invisible currents. And Daniel felt an irrational sense that they were studying him, mapping the outline of his fear, testing the perimeter of his understanding. And he pushed the throttle forward in defiance, engines roaring, the aircraft surging ahead, but the lights accelerated effortlessly, sliding into position beside the cockpit canopy, so near he thought he could reach out and touch the glow, though there was no heat, no turbulence, nothing but a presence. And then, as suddenly as they had appeared, they shot upward at an impossible angle and vanished into the cloud deck, leaving behind only the ordinary darkness of a war-torn sky. Back at base, the debriefing officer listened with a face carved from skepticism, scribbling notes under the heading "Unidentified Lights," a phrase that would begin appearing with uncomfortable frequency in mission reports. And Daniel noticed how the room divided itself between those who had seen similar phenomena and those who wished fervently not to believe them, because war already demanded too much from the human mind without adding mysteries that defied physics. Yet over the following weeks the sightings multiplied, glowing orbs pacing bombers, streaking alongside fighters, sometimes red, sometimes white, sometimes a sickly green, never firing, never colliding, simply accompanying like spectral escorts. Rumors spread faster than official explanations, some men whispering about secret enemy weapons, others about atmospheric electricity, St. Elmo's fire gone rogue, ball lightning born from artillery storms. But Daniel felt instinctively that none of those answers fit the way the lights behaved with such intention, such awareness. And the thought unsettled him more than any German ace could have, because an enemy pilot could be outflown or outgunned, whereas an intelligence hidden in light itself left no tactical response. Sleep became a fragile visitor, bringing dreams in which the spheres hovered above his childhood home, illuminating cornfields in alien hues, and he would wake to the rumble of engines and the metallic scent of aviation fuel, wondering if the war had torn a hole in the sky through which something ancient had begun to peer. One icy night in January, his squadron was dispatched to intercept a formation arc. Through layered clouds, he felt a prickling anticipation rather than dread, a sense that he was being summoned. And when they broke into clear air above the storm, the lights were waiting. This time not 3, but a dozen, arranged in a vast circle that enclosed his aircraft like a luminous arena, their glow pulsing softly as though synchronized to a heartbeat not his own. And Elias whispered a prayer he had not uttered since childhood, while Daniel's scientific training wrestled desperately with the evidence before his eyes, calculating velocities, angles, potential plasma behavior. Yet each hypothesis dissolved under the sheer elegance of their movement. The circle tightened, the lights spiraling inward until the cockpit was bathed in amber radiance. And for a moment the war fell away. The radio static, the distant artillery flashes, even the memory of nations at conflict. And Daniel felt suspended between worlds, aware of a profound stillness beneath the chaos of human violence. And then the radar screen flickered violently, erupting in cascading interference, and the engines coughed as if starved of air, the aircraft shuddering in protest, and instinct reclaimed him as he fought to maintain control, shouting to Elias to check the fuel mixture, to cycle the magnetos, clinging to procedure as a lifeline. And just as the stall warning trembled at the edge of sound, the lights recoiled outward in a burst of brilliance and shot away in divergent paths, the engines roaring back to life as though released from invisible restraint. They limped back to base shaken but alive, and this time the intelligence officers did not smirk, because too many crews had reported similar electromagnetic disturbances. Too many seasoned pilots described the same silent choreography, and somewhere in the bureaucratic labyrinth of command a file thickened with unease. Daniel began keeping a private journal despite regulations, sketching the configurations of the lights, noting their colors and apparent reactions to maneuvers, searching for patterns like a scholar dissecting a puzzle. And he noticed that the lights never appeared during missions of purely defensive patrol, but often during sorties over heavily bombed cities, as if drawn to concentrated human desperation. And the thought lodged in him like shrapnel, that perhaps the lights were not weapons or weather, but witnesses. February brought heavier fighting and deeper fatigue, and during one mission over the Black Forest, Daniel's aircraft was struck by flak that tore through the port engine, forcing him into a desperate glide through mountainous darkness. And as he prepared for what seemed an inevitable crash, the amber spheres emerged once more, flanking his wounded plane, their glow intensifying, and though reason screamed coincidence, he felt a strange calm as they positioned themselves beneath the failing wing, not touching yet somehow steadying. And the descent slowed inexplicably, the aircraft settling through treetops with less violence than physics should allow, until it crashed in a snow-laden clearing with a jolt that bruised but did not kill. When Daniel crawled from the wreckage, ears ringing, he saw the lights hovering at the edge of the forest like guardians reluctant to intrude, and Elias, bloodied but conscious, stared at them with tears freezing on his cheeks, neither man daring to speak lest the vision dissolve. And after a silent minute, the spheres rose vertically and disappeared among the stars, leaving behind only snowfall and the distant echo of artillery. Rescue crews found them at dawn and attributed their survival to luck and snowdrifts. But Daniel knew something had intervened, though he could not name it, and as he recovered in a field hospital, he wrestled with a conviction that bordered on heresy, that the universe was not indifferent to human suffering, that perhaps intelligence permeated reality in forms B. Dread, because if the lights possessed agency, what were their intentions? Why observe rather than act decisively? Why save 2 men in a forest while countless others perished in firestorms? By spring, he was grounded temporarily for evaluation, rumors of combat fatigue circling him, and he watched from the airfield as other crews took to the night sky, some returning with their own tales of glowing companions, others not returning at all. And he felt both chosen and burdened, caught between scientific skepticism and experiential certainty, until one evening an intelligence major summoned him to a dimly lit office where maps covered the walls and reports lay stacked like unsolved equations. And without preamble, the major asked him to describe exactly what he believed the lights wanted, a question that pierced deeper than any interrogation about enemy capabilities, because Daniel realized he had begun to sense purpose in their patterns, a trajectory not merely through space but through human history. And as he searched for words, he understood that whatever answer he gave would shape not only his own fate, but perhaps the manner in which humanity confronted the unknown hovering just beyond the reach of its guns and instruments, waiting patiently in the dark skies of a world at war.